My name is Benedict Beckeld, and I'd like to take a few moments to do what I love doing best, which is to make myself enemies on both sides of an issue. Now, the way I'd like to go about this today is by saying that I am an atheist, but an atheist who defends religion. So there are two considerations to keep in mind in this regard. I might almost say two axioms. The first consideration is that moral beings are possible only in communities. Now, since a community or its survival requires sacrifice and sometimes self-sacrifice on the part of the individual member, it is necessary that this member has a strong feeling of membership with the community. And religion is what provides that feeling of membership. The second consideration is that the beginning of every single civilization, without exception, is religious. This means that the farther away a civilization moves from its religion, the farther away it also moves from the traditions of its own origins. Now, since the beginning of civilization is religious, the end of the civilization is the rejection of religion. The members of the community, by losing their religion, lose this sense of membership that ties them to the cohesiveness of the community, and the members cease to be loyal both to the community and to one another. It is easily observable, both in the present and in the past, and both for monotheistic and pagan religions, that the sense of togetherness and community cohesion is strongest in those communities that are also the most religious, such as the Amish or Hasidic Jews, or the so-called sacred band of Thebes, whose love for one another had made them willing to fight to the death. A civilization starts off small and religious, but the more success it has and the more it grows, the less religious it becomes and the more fragmented it becomes, a process that I described in my video called Charlottesville and American Tribalism and Reason. This process has been true for Western civilizations in general, both in antiquity and in modern times. The evidence of history points to a nexus of civilizational weakening, religious weakening, and the rise of cultural self-hatred, also known as Ecophobia, a subject which I'm just finishing a book about. This is why the most radical departures from religion also coincide with a rejection of the civilization as a whole, including its non-religious elements, and coincides with a decreasing desire on the part of the members to defend their civilization against hostile forces. Now, the state itself also implies membership, of course, but whereas the failures of the state are absolute and palpable, such as a lost war or a collapsed government, God is nebulous enough to have any of his purported failings ascribed to a lack of human understanding or other factors. And this is why God will always provide a more stable foundation for the sense of membership than the state is able to do. That in general, religion is the strongest force of communal cohesiveness has been known by otherwise such diverse thinkers as Machiavelli, Hobbes, Schopenhauer, Nietzsche, and Durkheim. The problem is also that when religious belief declines, it is not replaced by reason, but rather by other beliefs. For example, the notion of human rights, or the idea that gender is fluid, is no more based on reason than is the idea that Jesus is the Son of God and died for our sins. They are all beliefs. There was a time when atheists or freethinkers were men of genuine reflection, such as Spinoza or Nietzsche. They knew how to fight and win against society's godly images, while atheists today are layman rabble-rousers like Richard Dawkins, who make fun of the Bible because there's a talking snake in it. By his standard, we shouldn't read the Iliad either, since there is a man in it who can only be injured in his heel, a deity who sets wings to his sandals, and a woman who lives in the sea. The truth is, of course, that whereas most things in the Bible never happened, it, and especially the Hebrew Bible, contains some very philosophically interesting passages and some truly remarkable human fates. Like Greek myth and tragedy, it is the tale of a group of fallible heroes. Even when Dawkins occasionally recognizes the value of the Bible as a work of literature, he soon scampers back like a petulant infant and wonders in all sincerity, often in silly social media tweets, why we should accept any of the moral authority that one can find in the Bible stories. And he sincerely wonders why we cannot all just be moral without any higher spiritual law. and he thinks that reason can replace religion as a mass phenomenon, and he thereby demonstrates how very poorly he understands mass psychology and the human psyche in general. Much barbarism has been committed in the name of Christianity, of course, but we are naive if we think that the sidelining of the Judeo-Christian faith system will bring about a more civilized community here in the West. In fact, the exact opposite is true. Now, if humanity were like one single individual, that individual could be trained to appreciate his civilization and to be willing to sacrifice for it, to hand down the beauty and the traditions that have been handed down to him without religion. But the fact of the matter is that humanity is not like one individual. The perhaps sad truth of the matter is that most people do not have the intellectual capacity for intricate philosophical questions, and for them the institution or the importance of religion is heightened because religion serves as a substitute for philosophy and as a moral guide and as a brake on their more corrosive human impulses. Some would reply to this that it is awfully condescending to suggest that societies cannot manage without religion. Now, maybe it's true that it's condescending, but that's irrelevant. The truth doesn't care whether it's condescending or not, and the evidence of history speaks for itself. Now, it's also true, of course, that religion in its more extreme form has hardly proven a friend of science over the years. But someone like Dawkins, when he complains about the rise of postmodernism in science, that is to the rejection of the notion of absolute truth, doesn't realize that postmodernism could arise precisely because religion declined. Someone like Dawkins will not be satisfied until he has turned all hardworking and charity-giving American Christians into narcissistic millennials who are children caught in adult bodies. The notion of unintended consequences is lost on people like Dawkins. And so in conclusion, I am an atheist who wishes that Jews and Christians will continue to worship in our midst, because when they stop, our society will be much worse off. When religion declines, the people willing to defend us against hostile forces and the people willing to hand down to the next generation the beauty and the knowledge at which our forefathers and foremothers labored will slowly disappear. And if you don't believe me, I suggest that you study in detail the histories of civilizations. I suggest that you visit American public schools, where both religion and education itself are more and more disappearing. And if you still don't believe me, just wait. Thank you for watching.